Korg M1. Korg M1. Hi all. We're going to do a video on the Korg M1. And we'll go into a little bit more detail this time. It's going to be the Korg M1 LE Software. LE for limited edition. First two videos we installed the keyboard, then we installed the software and just kind of stumbled through a quick start. This is the third video. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. We aren't going to do a lot because it's a really big topic, but I hope to do enough to get you going, that you'll have some sounds to fool around with. Okay, so something that happened to me was when I turned on the computer this morning, I didn't get no sounds from the keyboard. So all I did was I unplugged it. I unplugged the keyboard from here, and a few seconds later I plugged it back in, and then my keyboard worked. So, you know, it's just one of them electronic things. So let's go ahead and start up the software. Click the start button. I already have it on my start screen, but if you scroll down to Korg, K for Korg, click that, you can see here's all the things that have been installed. This is the MIDI driver stuff. These are the readmes. This one here with the keyboard, that's the actual software. If you right click that one, you can go pin to your start screen. And then here we can go pin to the taskbars. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so it's a little easier to get to. Why you would need to run it as administrator, I'm not sure. It's kind of strange that would show up there, but you know, it's a high level software thing, so we'll work on that later. Open file location, that's just where it's stored on your computer. That's where it was installed. Okay, so that's nothing you have to worry about. So we have it pinned. We have it pinned to our start screen. We have it pinned to our taskbar. So to start it up, click here or click here. That'll start it. There's the software. I haven't been able to figure out how to make it bigger. The only way that I could think of is if I changed my computer settings and made all my icons bigger. But something you could do is like get a magnifying glass so you can put it up on there and see what the stuff says. So it would be nice if you could click this and make it go full screen, but for some reason they have that turned off. Don't let all these little buttons intimidate you. All we're going to do is choose a sound to play through our keyboard. Okay? Most people will not use 90% of what you're looking at here. Okay, most of this stuff is based on editing a sound. Editing or creating a sound. Okay? So for us, where all this fancy stuff might come in is we have a sound and we want to fancy it up a little bit. We want to make it a little brighter or a little bit more bass or something like that. So that's where all this stuff would come into play. But for the most part, you know, I've been looking at this synthesizer stuff since the late 80s, and I've never gotten into editing a sound. I've dabbled with it, but it's really not necessary. When you get into editing or creating sounds, that's like a high level thing, and you really have to know what you're doing, or the sounds you just mess up the sounds. It's like trying to create a new recipe for a cake. You know, you really can't guess at the stuff because it just doesn't turn out right. You know, it's the same thing with these sounds. You know. But you can change them up just a little bit. So we'll get into that in later videos. Okay, so there's 2 play modes. I'm not really sure what Korg calls them, but just for the sake of our video, I'm going to call it a play mode. It's kind of like having 2 desktops on your computer. Here, like here, we're talking these buttons here. There's this combination button, and that's on because it's red. If we click multi, now we have multi-screen. So combination and multi. Okay, so main thing I'm looking at there is this here. When we press a key, it's going to play this sound. If we go into multi mode, when we press a key, we're going to play this sound. This next part, what I want to do is walk you through a few basic things on how you move around inside this software, because it is kind of confusing. So this guy up here, this is called the browser. Here I have select the combination mode, and you can see this corner here, this left corner changes to combination mode. If we click the multi mode, then it changes to multi mode. It shows what sound is playing. These 3 buttons don't change. They're file button, write button, and utility button. So, you know, which mode you want to use, it really doesn't matter. We'll get more into that later on. Basically, in combination mode, all the sound is sent through the effects. In multi-mode, the effect is mixed in at a level you set. There's more going on there, but that's basically the main difference from my point of view. It just depends on how you want to mix your effects in. So that has to do with this guy here. You know, this is just showing you how you mix your effects in. So that's kind of a high level thing, but I wouldn't worry about it for now. So we'll talk a little bit about it later on. On the left, there's 3 tabs: Performance, MIDI, and Master Effects. So usually we're in performance mode because we just want to play the keyboard. MIDI mode is where you can select a MIDI channel. We'll do more on MIDI later on. Yeah. Where this might come in handy is like this guy here. It says key zone. If some of your sounds aren't happening up here, then you can drag this guy up, and then like that sound will happen through your whole keyboard. Let's say, for example, you only want the choir sound. You want the choir sound up top, and you want the string sounds down the bottom part of the keyboard. That's what that would be for. Okay, so just to run through something here, click on the combination mode, then click the browser, and it brings us to this screen. Okay, so there's two main tabs here. Card is showing us these cards here. So you can see card 1, and then it shows us the card here. That's like a small credit card type thing. That's how they used to load sounds into the old-fashioned M1 back into the 80s. It was on a card, a big memory card. Now we use a little thumb drive or a little card like you put in your camera. So if you click through these sounds are all grayed out. The sounds that are grayed out you don't have access to, because this is only the limited edition. On card 1, these bright white names, those are the sounds that we can play. We've got this scroll bar here at the bottom, so there's more sounds there. Something else that you can do is click search, and then, like, let's say I only wanted to hear the bass sounds. Click there to hear the bass sounds. So now I'm playing the bass sound. I've got to put my headphones on so I can hear this too. Okay, so what you can do is, like, okay, I want the bass sounds, but I want a bright bass sound. So these are the bass sounds that are bright. These are the bass sounds that are dark. Okay, so let's say we click off of this. Now it's showing us all of the bass sounds. Say I can click here to hear it. Okay, so I have this bass and vibe sound, but it's not loaded into the system. It's not loaded here. If I double click that guy, now it's loaded here. Now you can see that sound, that bass vibe sound, it's actually made of 3 sounds. They're layering 3 sounds on top of each other. Okay, so it looks like what they're doing here is they got fretless bass here, the volume's at 99%, they got the vibe sound at 99%, then they have an A bass sound, but they got the volume way down. See, and I can move that volume up. So what if I just want a bass sound? There's these mute buttons. So now I'm only hearing this one bass sound. Mute. I can turn them all back on. If I want to, I can click the solo button here, so it turns all the other ones off and I only hear the one. It's just a fast way to mute all the other channels. If I go into MIDI here, you can see on this vibe, they only got the vibe on the top part of the keyboard. If I drag that down, now I have the vibe down at the bottom. Let's say I only want the fretless bass sound. I can go into here and say clear. I can clear. Now I only have fretless bass, but it's only on the bottom part of the keyboard. So I can take this guy and drag that up. Now I got a bass on the whole keyboard. and got little buttons on the keyboard here. See, if I press my lowest key, it's right here. If I press that down button, now my lowest key is way down here. So that's just a bit low. So I'll go back up here. Okay, so these sounds, like when we go into browser, you know, you just call them a sound. The old days we used to call them patches. What patch are you playing? These three buttons here, let's say we have a whole bunch of things loaded here. You can click here and go clear all, and it says, are you sure you want to clear it? Say yes. That clears everything. You can go back to the browser, uncheck that. Now we're seeing all of our sounds. Here's our film score. If I double click film score, that loads it into memory. And you can see it's actually made up of four separate sounds. Choir sound, tube sound, string sound, piano sound. Okay, we already covered this guy here. That's just